Alright, welcome to day 8 of the Tanks devlog. Today's update is a small kind of visual thing, but there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I changed and updated. So let's go ahead and just get into that. As you can see right here, bullets now have trails on them. I think it makes them easier to see. Just looking around, you can see that the bullets now have trails on them. The blue bullets, I guess, are still kind of hard to see just because of the black background. I'm not going to have a black background forever. I did also upgrade the revive system. So now, what I want to show off, I changed the revive system so that now, when you get revived, you actually get back all the upgrades you had. So, you can see right here that the red tank is faster, right? Yeah, the red tank is faster, just barely. As you can see it outpacing the green tank. So you can see that the red tank is faster, just proving that he has a speed upgrade. Now I just need to go ahead and revive him to show that he still has it. I won't get a move upgrade because I want to be able to compare speeds. I wish we could have compared like a bullet bounce. That's an obvious and easy thing to notice, but haven't gotten a bullet bounce upgrade. Revive player. Get them both in the same spot. Yeah. As you can see, red is already faster than green, outpacing. Now, when you revive a player, they retain the upgrades that they had, which I guess maybe it makes the game a little easier. Like an upgrade of a revival of a player is a big deal now. It's like a huge bonus. The reason I came up with it is because I'm also planning a new mode which I will need that ability for, is versus mode. So I haven't implemented it really yet, but versus mode will basically just be a player versus player. I do have new starting positions, but I mean nothing happens after you take out the other player. Let's go over what I did to put all that together. Player input is also now its own menu item on the main menu, and I changed the way that it handles it. So any player can take any control style from another player. I cannot change player 4 input while I don't have enough gamepads connected. I can disconnect the gamepad and it'll blank that out so I can't change it. Let's go ahead and go into the code now. Let's go ahead and look at that trail effect. That's actually pretty easy to do. I have a second bullet object that it just has the bullet sprite, and the only event it has is a step event, which reduces its image alpha by a very small number because it's happening every step. And then if image alpha gets to 0, then it'll just destroy it. So, there's not a bunch of blank objects sitting on the screen or something. And then for the bullet itself, every step, it creates an instance of the bullet trail object. I have this with instance so that I can change the color of the bullet trail object. It starts at 0.2 image alpha. It's not even starting at 1 just because I didn't like the way it looked like a full solid bullet trailing away. I want it to start out faded. Every part of the trail should be faded. That's just the preference that I had, that it starts at 0.2. And then it starts off with this bullet's image angle, of course. It has to match the angle of the bullet, otherwise it will look weird. That is the whole trail effect right there. This block of code plus the other object that I showed you. So that's really easy to do. When you revive a player, every player now has a list. Object Game has a list for each player of the upgrades that they select, and it gets wiped at every new game. When you revive a player, it goes through that list. I mean, it finds out how big the list is, and it does a for loop to check as long as you're within the list's bounds. It'll execute the script of the upgrade. So basically the list itself is a list of function calls, and it'll just go through the list of all the function calls and reapply those upgrades to a new object player, which is how you revive that player with all of their abilities. Which of course means that when the player picks an upgrade, there has to be an extra step. So this is the normal execute the script of the upgrade, and then I have this check of finding out what player number you are and then adding that upgrade to that list with just the function dslist add. I rewrote the code on how it selects a player's input in that input menu. So if you confirm on like the keyboard or gamepad, or if you click with the mouse, it will do this. So if It first checks if you're changing player 1's control. It then checks to see what you're changing it to. -1 is that keyboard and mouse slot at the top. This right here is checking if player 2 is keyboard and mouse. And then here it's checking, so if you're not trying to be keyboard and mouse, it then checks to see if player 2 is whatever gamepad slot you're trying to change to. And if it is, then you simply swap. Player 1 and player 2 just simply swap positions. And then it does the same for player 3 and then player 4. If nobody else has the input that you're choosing, it'll just straight up assign it. Just like that. I do that again for like player 2, checks to see if player 1 has it. It does all that for each player. If you add a controller input setting, so if I add a controller, player 3 doesn't have anything. If I try to take keyboard and mouse from player 1, player 1 is nothing. This is the one instance where you can not assign something to player 1. That's the only way you can do it, is if you add an input after game start, or even after just going into this menu, maybe after game start. And then you take away, you assign player 1's input to somebody else, then if you go into here, nothing is going to work. But it's really not a big deal. You kind of have to screw that up yourself when you're using the game, but even if you do that for some reason, you can still always pause the game with the keyboard or even any gamepad connected. You can pause the game now. I updated that, so it doesn't just have to be player 1 that can pause the game. And then you can always just go in here and change the settings. So you can basically change it whenever you want. And that, I believe, is everything I got done today. So if you got any questions or comments, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.